Okay, it's recording.
All right, and we have the members of CMG here too, Liz and Logan, so.
Okay. My name is Steve Kite. I live at 93 Blairmore Drive, and I've got a problem with my so-called neighbor, 91 Blairmore Drive, Danny Doable. He parks on the street, several cars in the evening. I've called the management company several times last year, sent them pictures, and evidently nothing's been done. And are we still backing up covenants here, or?
Well, where does he or she, where do they park?
On the street.
Like,
And the police have been out there on several occasions because they park backwards sometimes.
Yeah, and have the police been writing tickets?
No, they won't write them a ticket.
Rebecca, you had that problem with, do they usually write a ticket or?
They're supposed to write a ticket if they're in violation. The problem is it's a public street.
Yeah.
And we can't really control, the binding is between the people on the deed and the association. We would have to know every truck. They don't consider it to be an issue. Because I've talked to Team 4 to see if there was something we can do about it. And what they're supposed to do is come out, if you make a complaint, if they're within 3 feet of your mailbox,
Yeah.
you're allowed to have a ticket written. If they're like double parked, you can have a ticket written. And if they're, facing
The wrong way?
the wrong way, yeah. I don't know if they're on the right side, they're okay. If they're on the left side, they're not. So.
Well, that's been going on for years, and I've tried to get something done about it. And it's a problem with the other neighbors backing out of their driveway. They can, they possibly get. They came close to hitting the cars. You just got everything blocked up, and then again, it just doesn't look good for the neighborhood.
Liz, have you tried sending them letters?
I know in the past if they were to come in, we would, but typically anytime anything comes to my desk that there's a violation, I send it to y'all and see if you want me to send a letter.
I haven't gotten.
And so that means it has not come to my desk, so I can figure out why it has not come to my desk.
Well, I've got in touch with the management company on several occasions last year, and I guess it's another management company.
No, it was ours.
Okay.
Did you email or call? How did you
I called,
call?
and they said, well, we'll send somebody out and look at it. And I guess they did that, and I called them, they said, well, we don't see any violation. And I said, well, what time do you come out? And they said, oh, then 3 or 4 o'clock. And I said, well, they don't come out and park on the street till 6 or 7.
Well, that's a lot of times our enforcement department comes through during the day, during business hours, not at night. And so with that, unfortunately, it's more up to
Well,
homeowners, not necessarily
if I see it, I'll send pictures. So I've sent
Yes.
pictures. I bet I've sent 20 pictures to y'all. 20, at least 20.
We'll look into it and see why.
And
91 Blair?
91 Livermore Drive.
I guess my question is, I know I have all as a member of the ARB, the covenants and restrictions, and I know that there are areas you cannot park overnight in the street.
You can't write them a fine, but you
Okay.
can send them a letter.
Right. Okay.
And I confronted them yesterday, or a couple of days ago, and they said, well, we haven't gotten any trouble for it, so they're going to continue doing it. So if I don't know whether y'all sent letters or not. The last time I called the management company, that was when the problem was going on, and they said that they had forgiven all the fines and stuff.
Yes, it was when we stopped doing the violations per the board.
Which is poor.
It wasn't the management company's decision.
The problem being, we have so many different sections, there's no one unifying document. So every time something comes in, you have to see, is it in violation of that particular section? If that makes any sense. We have like 5, 6 different sections.
Exactly. Whole bunch.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I wonder, be better if we wrote a board letter to Team 4? I mean, do you think that would have any effect?
I think that, it seems to me with any police department, that the more people call and complain, kind of like with the city, the more people that call and complain is when they actually start doing more. If you only get a few calls here or there, not as much action is taken as if,
They've been out there several times.
Yeah.
If the 24-hour parking is unenforceable, then I hate to tell you this, but unless they're within whatever that distance is in a mailbox, it
Yeah.
doesn't sound like there's any hope for you.
Well, they're blocking the mailbox,
Yeah.
Then they
At
should,
night.
you call coaching too, yeah.
Yeah.
because they, I mean, most of the time it's more than one, I don't know what they got going on over there. I mean,
Is it a bunch of renters who all live in?
Well,
and there's four?
no, well, I don't know,
I'm guessing
I don't know whether they're
they
doing an Uber on the house or what, there's different plates out there, parked out there, I don't know.
And do they have more than 3 cars in a driveway?
Oh, yeah, there's 4 cars in the driveway,
I mean,
and there's 2 or 3 out on the street.
I mean, that's a violation we can enforce, is that if we have more than 3 cars, it's in the covenants, right?
The problem is you'd want them to put that 4th car in the driveway if possible.
Yeah.
You're probably forcing a wrong
Versus
behavior.
Yeah.
It's only a violation when you see it,
Yeah.
and if they move it, then, you know.
So versus the board contacting the news crew, could the board possibly not visit this homeowner or the management company instead of going to the news outlet or going to law enforcement?
Well, I don't even know.
Can somebody from the board say, hey, man, it's
Where
going
it is.
to
Right.
Well, the covenant says you're not supposed to park a car on the street, overnight.
The problem is that it's
It's
unenforceable.
unenforceable.
But can I ask a
Just
question?
say,
Isn't there an office, a city office of livability?
Yes.
Yes, there is.
So, have you ever heard of that? There's a city office of livability, and from what I understand, that when you get into these situations with neighbors where the HOA doesn't quite cover it, but it's still causing you an issue with livability, that the city can step in. And actually has an obligation to check it out. I don't know anything beyond that.
I
And I
do.
don't know how successful.
I do,
people
and they
have
will
been.
come out and meet with you. You do need to call them. Just call the main line for the city of Charleston and ask for the Office of Livability.
Yeah.
And that's that person's total responsibility. I think they got a few people working in that office. And they will come out, because my brother had to use that in a dispute he had, not in Shadowmoss, but and they're very good about doing it,
And there
because that's their function.
I heard about it from somebody else in Shadowmoss.
Can we send a letter? I mean, I know,
Yeah, send an email or a letter or something.
but I think we should send a letter at least.
And just keep in touch with us and see if it improves after we start sending letters.
let me give you a phone number.
Okay.
It's 843-284-6347.
284
6347.
6347.
Yeah, that is the HOA's number, and you can text too, so if you want to take a picture and text it, with your phone, it's just easier than trying to move it across 5 different platforms.
Okay.
And that'll come to both our Jamie and I.
All right. Thank you very much for hearing me.
Thank you.
Thank you
Hope
for
you can help
coming.
me out.
You're welcome to stay.
All right, oh, what on my agenda? Here it is. We're gonna call this meeting to order at 6:40. First things first, we want to introduce Logan, and he's gonna replace Liz as our community manager.
You think you can replace Liz? Do you really think
We'll see.
I'd rather look at Liz, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Oh.
Yeah, so my name is Logan Candela. I've been with the community development group for about 1.5 years. This will be my 10th community. I do a mixture of townhomes, condos, and single-family homes similar to Shadowmoss. I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee. Born and raised, went to the University of Tennessee, graduated in May of 2015. My degree's in accounting. I did accounting for a little bit, but after looking at a screen and Excel sheets all day, I decided that wasn't what I wanted to do. So moved to Charleston, got this job, and this is what I've been doing ever since. I look forward to working with all of you. And just make Shadowmoss as best as it can be.
Make Shadowmoss great again.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Liz, how many communities do you have?
Yeah, this is the only one where I'm getting.
You are going off to do something more fun, right?
On what?
Yeah,
Liz.
Liz.
Okay.
All right, item number 2, review January financials.
Okay, we do have a slight error in the reserve fund going off to one account that's going to be fixed. And we also had an account that it just got written today, it was supposed to be written off on January 25th. And it was unfortunately the highest account, so it's going to cost the AR off a little bit on some of these. That's why there's a handwritten AR on the other sheet that I'm about to go over. Other than that, it's been pretty much a normal January. But I have passed out, and there's a few sheets floating around if you guys can see it. Basically, what I'm looking at right now is a comparison of where we were last year and where we are right now. We have that new policy in place where we are going to be taking people to small claims court, and we were trying very much to push people to pay earlier. We've been sending out additional notices and letters, and I was just sort of curious to see if it had any real effect. So far, we actually are running about 24% fewer people late. And if we just follow the same pattern as last year, we're looking at filing 93 small claims court cases. Assuming that 93, if it follows pattern. If you look back in last year, in April 1st, there were 122 people that still owed money. So it's already going to drop.
Are they represented in that 63,000?
This is a comparison. This is a comparison between this year and last year. So the account receivable, different people.
But I mean, the people that were sending the 93 notices to or whatever.
We're sending more than 93. If you look at the current 2818, we have 129 people late as of this month. Last year at this time, we had 169 late.
I'll ask that $63,000 question a different way. How much of that $63,000 do you think we'll ever see in the bank?
I think we're going to see, well, I already tell you that there's 40,000 that we won't see because there was a bank foreclosure on it. I fully expect that we're going to probably see the vast majority of what's out there.
Over 50.
I would say over 50. Matter of fact, it brings us up to the small claims court cases. Of the 13 that have been filed, there are still 2 to be heard. Several people have paid in full. Several people are on payment plans. Unfortunately, one of the payment plans is already defaulted. So that person's going to be taken back into court when the time rolls around. And they will not get dismissed unless they do a payment in full. They don't get another payment plan. And if the payment plan is going to be a court-ordered payment plan at that stage. So of the 13, I mean, obviously we're doing this to kind of get a measure of how effective is the policy. It's obviously been effective against our 13 highest accounts, but whether it becomes effective against people who owe a couple $100, whether they're going to, comply at that stage, or if they, I hate to say this, I almost wonder if people don't sometimes play chicken, like they don't really think we're going to follow through, which they're in for a rude awakening. I'm going to follow through. They don't know me, no. But, this would also mean, the treasurer doesn't get reelected next year. So
No,
people,
the board elects the treasurer.
well, but I have to be elected to the board. So, people have their way of getting even. If you look at just a couple of numbers, we're already $7,000 more in assessments have been paid this year than last year at the same time. We're about equal for the CMG fee because understand that's part of that 63,000 that's not really there. I, again, don't like the accounting method of placing that in because it's a separate liability. So that much.
That's the $15 per
Yes.
month.
Which goes to them, so it doesn't really come to us.
And that's about.
Wait, it comes to us.
It comes into us, but it
Okay, so then
goes
we-
right, no, it doesn't. It goes right back out again. It's a separate liability.
Okay. So that's probably about $8,000 or more.
No, it's right here.
Oh,
Okay, it's all there, I promise.
where is that?
It's right here.
Right there, top
Yeah.
top right hand corner.
There you go.
Okay.
So we are in better financial shape, and our AR has dropped, almost $40,000 for where we were last year.
And for Logan's benefit, Logan, there are some people on this board that don't agree with that $15 assessment that
I'm aware.
Liz will tell you that.
Okay, and there is one court case that was held. I went to 2 court cases last week. Both were settled, one of which is the hardship case that I'm going to refer to as homeowner that is in front of you. This homeowner had surgery in 2010. It went very, very badly. She had a prosthetic device installed. It went and to other parts of her body and had to be removed, and it caused massive nerve damage. This homeowner is currently using SC Help. They are paying her mortgage. She food stamps, and the church is covering utilities. There's absolutely zero income. But she's in the process of getting disability, but it's a process, and it takes a while. And she has said, she wants to pay, and she will pay when the disability comes in. So what I'm asking, this will be the only contract I've ever done this way, but a non-payment contract, where it's just as soon as you can, for her payments. But every other contract, I have a buy-in, Logan.
Okay.
Basically, the buy-in is to cover my cost for going after you again if I have to. But this is, if this disability doesn't come through, it doesn't matter that we don't have a contract, because the house is gonna get into foreclosure anyway, and we wouldn't collect a penny under those circumstances. So this is just, we need to be Christian and kind to our neighbors, and I'm asking for the board's permission to do that.
Is that a
Just
motion?
a question before we, how will we know if her disability is ever approved?
She has signed a contract with the court.
Okay, so the court will know.
Yeah, well,
Which means we will know.
if it's not done in a year, I can bring her back into court at any time. I had the agreement at court signed. Yeah.
I get you. I get you now. I was like, man, trying to get disability for 10 years, but I get you.
Again, if that doesn't come through, the house will go. So,
Okay,
I don't want to throw any more legal money at.
I understand.
And I did see proof, and before the payment contract is signed, I did say you'd have to submit that to the board as well. But I have actually physically seen the proof.
Okay.
It was a lot in court.
You should be commended for doing all of this without a lawyer.
We're going to call you Saint Rebecca.
Is this something we can forward to Steve Beck, and ask him to hold on that $15?
Yeah, I'll ask him. He did that before.
But they have the understanding, we don't know when the payments are going to start. So-
Or even if the plan's going.
Or if it's.
I understand. Or
Yeah.
maybe we can have a temporary stay.
Do you have this electronically? You can forward?
Yes. I do.
Okay, if you do, I will ask. If you don't ask, you don't get. And so far, we've got.
So should I make a formal motion?
Yes.
Yes.
I motion that we allow a non-payment contract for this individual homeowner.
Second.
Second.
Discussion?
Discussion?
No, I just second.
I'll ask
I'm a preacher, I'm gonna be for that.
You had mentioned laws before, there was a motion passed last year about being if you had lived in the neighborhood a certain amount of time and if you had served in a particular branch of the military for a certain, you said that we couldn't waive membership for certain criteria, but you went on to discuss, and I don't remember, and this is my question, remind us how we can get GoFundMe accounts to get this year's dues paid, so we don't have to pay the $15. You said there were stipulations or ways you could raise money, but not be board associated. Could you?
Oh,
If
you're
you
talking about
remember-
private individuals want to raise money?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. You guys can. You have to watch out for what you're doing tax-wise.
Okay.
Because, what you do if you're not raising for a, nonprofit, you're going to end up, if you go over $600, you're going to owe taxes.
Perfect, thank you.
So, yeah, you certainly welcome. But understand, we have never waived principal. We only waive soft cost or,
Okay.
some legal fees and stuff. So if you come to the board with a hardship case, the $200 is still there. Just because that's our bylaws and we can't kind of escape that.
I would like to see the board approach the social committee, and, the social committee raises some money and they do donate it to different.
My problem with the social committee is I'm you guys are.
The only reason I say that is because, you could run into a problem with consistency unless everything's clear. And so I really feel like if there's a way that somebody could raise the money, it would be a better approach. That's just my thoughts. I'm certainly not against it, I'm just saying, coming from the government, I just always worry about consistency.
I'm amazingly consistent.
Yeah.
I am amazingly
Well,
consistent.
yeah, the social committee, I understand, is not
They're not a nonprofit. either.
associated with it. Why couldn't we have a benevolent committee or or benefit committee or a committee that's just in charge of?
Are you volunteering?
No, I'm not. I'm just, if there's somebody that wants to volunteer, I'll
Hardship, is that
volunteer.
what you're looking for?
Hardship, yeah, just to have a GoFundMe account on behalf of the community.
But the social committee's raising money and To my understanding, they have been. I mean, maybe they could be a beneficiary at our next event.
Well, it's certainly up to them to do it.
Absolutely,
I know
if they
there's no
wanted to.
connection, but what I'm saying is, since they're, are
How
donating
will the
something.
board get that information to them?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not on any.
I think we
Well,
can
I
figure
can
out now, so
speak
we
as-
think about names, right?
Right. I can speak as the treasurer of the social committee. We're not in to make money. What we bring in goes back out.
Yeah, that's right.
I will tell you, probably after Easter, we may have $24.50 in our account. But we've got food, so you can't, I mean, that's totally separate. We're not.
So could we put a
Maybe.
jar or a hat out at the next event?
Um,
Or a GoFundMe account on the social committee's,
I don't know that
social
that's.
media account?
I don't know, I can't speak.
I got you.
I don't know that that's where they want to go. We are all about bringing the neighborhood together. I don't think that's with our mission.
Sometimes with membership organizations, one way of going about funding something like this with a hardship is actually appealing to the membership. So it might be the thing that everyone who's an owner who's paying these dues each year, if you want to also help another owner who may be a hardship case, and there's some definition of what that is and how that's
And
determined.
how to spell it out.
I bet you would get people
Talking
who
about this
would.
committee would have to be very, you'd have to have some rules.
I mean,
Some
but what it does
guidelines,
though, it's
yeah.
very transparent, right? It puts it into
Policy and
the
procedures.
rules and the policy, which
Yeah.
everybody knows about it, and it's something, and I mean, I'm sure that people would, it's
I'm
like
sure they would too if there was an.
$10 more, and you
Mechanism.
just sort of collect that money as you go.
Just like at PetSmart, do you want to contribute to
Well,
that? Yeah.
And even like sometimes utilities do it for people who can't meet electric bills. and
It'd be
worst
easy to
times of
do with
winter.
the assessments, but it'll be another year before we send assessment notices out.
Well, maybe it's not something that can be done right away, but the
It's something you
transparency
open-
of it is a way that, and
You'd
also
have to have a
people
separate
feel good about
account. You'd have to
Yeah.
have.
Yeah,
it. It would be a separate line item, and it's,
Yeah.
but it
you'd
would
have some
appeal to all
guidelines and
owners.
stuff.
And if the donations exceeded a certain amount, we'd have to give gift receipts for IRS.
Mhm. But I would envision it to be one of those things where when we have a hardship case, you would put out a notice on our social media or wherever and say we have a hardship case, we need to raise $400, $1,000, whatever it is, and stop collecting after whatever it is that you're looking at.
Mhm.
I'm just sort of worried that all of a sudden we're gonna have this uptick in hardships because.
Well, that's.
I'm serious, I'm sorry. I know I'm being.
You're right. That's what I'm saying.
Everybody
Some guidelines, you can't just let
But
everybody
you
do
can
that.
still decide that it requires a due.
I mean, you're going through
You
the
can-
process of already identifying real hardships anyway.
I mean, you can still
So,
decide
yeah, not
that,
everybody would.
you know.
Well, and anything you do, there has to be a method to the madness.
Yes.
That's my only point.
and you have certain
You
rules.
have to have certain criteria that people meet, and that's my only fear of this. I mean, I'm all for it. Listen, I mean, I really am for it. I just want to protect the board and protect everybody, and that, you know, there should be something you compare it to. In case I came up and said I had a hardship case, and I found out that somebody else got something and I didn't, then I might want to challenge it. I'm just trying to be the devil's advocate here.
That's why you need guidelines and a way to determine
We don't know what.
who's
what
just
it
pulling
is.
your leg and who's really needs it, you know? And there's gonna be people that are trying to pull a leg down there.
That's
It
right.
happens.
Yeah, but,
I know of the benevolence committee at the church,
right.
once in that, you know, we never gave out cash, never.
Right.
If you needed a room, if you needed a meal, if you had your whole family with you, gave you 2 rooms, we had things set up with hotels and motels and restaurants and stuff. So we did that, but we never gave whole cold hard cash to anyone.
We wouldn't do that either. It would go straight in and.
Straight to the HOA dues for me.
You probably have to consult with tax advisors.
I think that's where I would get
Privacy
to.
issue too, that
Is there anybody that wants to help with that? It's always
Sounds like
good.
you are volunteering.
I have more time after the 1st of May, but I don't mind.
Well, I don't think
looking into it.
anything can be done until the next membership vote
Okay.
anyway, so.
I'll be glad to look into it. Just don't ride me hard until
Oh, I'm
after
writing it down. What's total number on this account?
That one is, hold on. I want to say it's, I have it in here.
Is it on this list?
It is, hold on. Is it driving me crazy? Is it the case number?
No, I'm trying to find out how much it is.
I'm trying to figure it out. Oh, that's fine. I have it in reverse. It's my fault. I ordered it properly. It's fine. Not seeing it.
I bet you'll find it if you want to go on down the agenda.
Do you know ballpark?
Oh, yeah, 2600.
2600,
That's close.
yeah, that's all I need. Okay, can we vote on this motion? To let Rebecca enter a non-payment plan.
All those in
Yes, we
favor?
can vote, we've got a second.
We have a second and a first, yeah. A vote?
You can call a vote.
I'm calling for a vote.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimous, approved. All right, moving on to the, was there anything else, Rebecca, on the
No, that's
financials?
it.
All right. Moving on to number 4, old business. Solar power lights and watering system for the entrance at 61 Shadowmoss Parkway.
Okay, well, I thought we were holding on that to vote, but
Okay.
I went ahead and I did look into, it's about $600 for the lighting poles. And I called SCNG because I'm also figuring, Middleborough, if we've got to move our electricity over, because my understanding is it's on the wrong side, it's on Wilco. And this makes no sense at all, but they said they would have to come out to look at moving it to charge us, because they would have to give us an estimate, but if we closed it and opened up a new account on the other side, that they wouldn't charge.
They wouldn't charge us to put a meter?
That's what they claim. I don't know if I believe that.
It is SCNG.
I know. I think when you build a house, you have to pay an impact fee. I don't understand how we would get away with not paying, but this is what they told me.
Water impact, yeah.
Ask them to.
Can you get a free water meter?
We love
I
it.
would say
That
ask
requires a
them.
little mini nuclear power plant right there.
We have to have something,
So,
they say zero.
Well, we could look in with moonlighting as well, and those other 2 companies. To look at, here's the thing with the Middleborough though, is like, is that guy gonna, you said he's, on his plans, he's moving the lights, is he keeping the lights? Because I'd really like them to match.
No, okay, well, moving on to the.
Okay,
The latest on Wilco is that the plans were submitted to TRC, which is the Technical Review Committee. And as far as I know, they've been approved by the city. The plans show the lights being moved into the right-of-way, so between the sidewalk and Shadowmoss Parkway.
then are they our lights?
Their existing lights are being.
Okay, so we don't have to, okay, that's great, because I contacted SCNG last month about the Walmart lights, and when I call them, they have these set lights, because, I figure I wanted them to match, or if they weren't gonna match.
I think it's better not to have any lights and more lights.
Like the
Can
little
you say that again?
tinted lights.
I'm confused.
Walmart
They are gonna
has
take
those.
the lights that we were kind of worried about last,
Yes.
and they're going to move them.
5 feet into the right-of-way.
Into the right of way on Shadowmoss Parkway
Yes.
or on Beach Ferry?
No. Into the right way on Shadowmoss Parkway, along Shadowmoss Parkway between the edge of the street and the sidewalk.
So they'll still match the ones that we now own across the street. It'll be
Yes.
sort of symmetrical still,
That's what I
right?
thought I heard
Yeah,
too.
somehow.
Okay.
Now, the question is, are they
That's
going to
nice.
maintain them,
Okay.
or are they expecting us to maintain them?
I haven't had that conversation.
Because we've been told twice now with threatening letters not to even look over there, so.
So again, it is their light.
I
It's
assume
conveyed with the property.
It's their light, right?
Yeah,
I don't
right.
say we worry about it.
Yeah, that's, well, you
If they don't
can't.
maintain it,
Not
we
unless
take
you have
care of it, we
permission
just
to do
report it to the
anything.
city.
Well, our attorney was looking into seeing if we have an easement on those lights and the sign, which probably don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think it conveyed with the property, so.
It is, everything,
I don't think
there's lots
everybody's
of
got
them
to-
in there.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Are we still paying the power rent up, because the box is still open,
We
the water's still
we
open?
pay the meter because our electric meter and our water meter is on his side.
So we have to get it moved.
That's what I was talking
I
about.
know, but right now, we're still paying
Yes,
for
sir.
power.
Because it's powering, watering our side too. It's a very
Sooner the
important
better.
sign, yeah. It's-
But the power's not much, and it does light the entrance to the neighborhood, so I don't think more.
Well, the problem is that half of those lights are not working and we can't maintain them.
Because they're not ours.
They're not ours.
Well, the ones that are not working are now ours, because we bought that part on the left for 25 grand, and that light that's not working is now ours. So I think we should get an electrician to go see why it's not working and get it working.
We know why it's not working. The power meter is on the other side and the conduit is
Where's the breach? That's,
somewhere in the conduit.
They have to go onto the Wilco's property and look for it.
He said he needs to re-pull all the wire.
unless we get a new power
Unless we get a
meter.
And we need one eventually anyway, so.
Yeah, I
Or we
mean,
go solar.
my opinion is you get a new meter, because
Yeah.
otherwise you've got to have permission
I agree.
from Wilco to move that existing meter, which
And
may
they're
be
so
hard to do,
charming, why don't we just
depending
get
on what your
some
relationship is.
Let's
Does
just
that
get
require
our
a
own.
motion?
Sure.
I move that we get a new power meter on the property that we just bought and hook the light up to our power meter and cap the conduit off that goes over across the street.
What do you want?
We'll just shut the meter off, we'll pay for
There you
it.
go, preacher.
But here's the thing though, we're not going to explore solar there, or you?
Huh?
No?
Where are you gonna put the
Well,
solar panel?
if the meter is free,
Well, all right, you want me to make sure, I'll.
Yeah, make sure the
confirm
meter's,
the meter is free.
Okay.
yeah,
If
okay,
the- if the
second,
meter is free, I'm all for it, but I don't know if I believe that.
I second that, and if the meter's not free, we'll revisit it.
Okay.
What about water then? We did say.
I'm just worried about where we're gonna put a solar panel. I don't know how many it would take for that light over there, that it doesn't just sit out there. And I mean, the whole reason we wanted that is because it looks so nice, you know?
Solar doesn't
If the
bother me.
meter's free,
I don't like panels sitting all
just
over.
do the power,
Okay,
because
I'll confirm, and
Yeah.
if it is, I'll order it and get it out there.
Okay, you can call her back.
Okay, I call for a vote. Yeah.
Yeah,
Aye.
yeah,
Rick?
Yep.
Okay, unanimous. All right. Number C, entrance landscape design. I contacted last week and scheduled an appointment with Brownswood Nursery, and they come out and they can do a landscape design for the 3 of our entrances for $100 each. So, and that kind of ties into Mike's motion that he emailed earlier about redesigning the entrances and making them more unified, more like, what's that, Middleborough entrance.
Okay, the reason last meeting we discussed like membership vote on the non-HOA entrance that are we backing off that? Are we going to have that separated out and?
I thought the vote was not to remove the Turnberry sign until we get a membership vote.
yeah.
We had discussed all, I mean, it's on tape, I mean, I don't care,
Look back into it.
yeah. I mean, I don't really care, I just want to be, you know.
Well, the thought is that if we can get a design together, and then we can present that to the membership, and get the buy-in from the membership for the new design for the 4 or 5 entrances.
But are we going to allow them to vote? I mean, that's what I'm saying, will that be
Yes.
separated out? so
No,
that-
it will be all combined as a package.
Okay.
And is that something we
Yeah,
would
yeah.
email to them and
No, it'll be mailed.
mailed, and then they can vote by mail or email that?
Yes.
You don't have to call them.
Well, the idea is to put a cost number to it, to see how much it costs and get the buy-in from the membership.
Because you know
on
how
the
hard
cost.
it is to get people to come to meetings.
well,
Well,
if
So
it's,
they can do it via email or mail.
Yeah, we'll call it special meeting, like we vote for the land purchase. We'll do it via mail.
I don't support sole sourcing almost anything, but if it's just a couple $100, I think we should sole source that, get the design,
Yes.
and then bid out the big
Yes,
project.
yes,
As long as you make sure you own the design once you get it.
yes.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct.
They just do a sketch. I mean, I just want to talk to somebody who knows about plans. 'Cause
Then you're not gonna do all 5, you're just gonna do 3 of the 5?
Well, I figured the 3, if we get a typical entrance, those 3 are all different. and we can apply the design to the other entrance.
I think that we should have one brand for the neighborhood,
Amen.
and that it should be consistent with the same quality entrance that look very similar at all 5 entrances. That's my opinion.
And I was gonna base off of the Middleborough entrance because it looks the nicest.
Other than I want to sign out those stupid columns, I hate those things.
No, not columns.
Yeah, okay.
I think we keep as much good stuff that we have, which includes the signs, but most of the bushes are half dead.
Yeah.
They're nasty.
Well, it won't be,
Where's the
it won't
sign?
be columns, it'll be column, which will look kind of weird.
Where's the signs? The only sign I saw was the ones that's made into the property.
There is no sign.
There is no sign.
That was no sign. So that's a different.
And they don't even have Shadowmoss on it.
Let me just ask, for those of you who live in the Middleborough area, would you be offended if it said Shadowmoss instead of Middleborough as you come into the neighborhood?
Not offended.
Or not offended, but would you be disappointed if it said Shadowmoss at that entrance? I mean, you can't even read that it says Middleborough hardly.
Well, a couple things. One is the rest of the community, there are neighborhoods within the rest of Shadowmoss.
And we're gonna,
Are you eliminating those
yes.
neighborhood
By
signs?
member
Like
vote.
Turnberry, and they're coming down.
No, by member vote.
By member vote, right. We're gonna have the members vote on it. We could do the
Are
same
you-
thing with Middleborough.
Are you doing that? I would definitely suggest doing that.
Yeah, I would too.
Oh,
I would
I live in
imagine there's
Middleborough.
some
I
rather
would too.
strong opinions on it.
Right.
Because I can right now count a couple of handful of people that would be really up in arms.
But can I say also that you might want to consider also the tricky situation that exists with having different covenants and restrictions with respect to those neighborhoods.
I
Because
agree.
70%.
part of
Mhm.
identifying what applies is based on the sub-neighborhood you're in, which then affects what,
Happens next door.
happens. Exactly.
Well,
you could
but
just
they've already
address-
voted to take one Dunwoody sign down, so they've set a precedent to do
Who's they?
it. The board.
Well, it's because that lot
Wasn't really
was
a
sold.
Well, I understand that, but still, it's the same principle that she's.
Wait,
I'm
Steve.
all for everything saying Shadowmoss.
Okay, wait a second. Is that because we don't own that property?
No, you sold the property.
Okay, but then that's not for us to put a sign on if we don't own the
We
property.
gave up an easement.
Right,
That's-
just like the
Right.
Middleborough, you gave up an easement. I'm
But
all,
there is still some kind of easement or some kind of signage from Middleborough right before that first property. So as you go around past that pond, there.
Choose
right-
another
yeah,
side.
there's
Yeah.
another
Another
side.
pair of
That's
columns.
where, in theory, if
Well, I
that
would
full
venture to say
property
the same
gets
thing
sold-
stands with the Shadowmoss deal at Dunwoody. There's a meter there and a water meter and an electric meter right by the sign. That's an easement. There's no way that SC&G or Commissioners of Public Works would go on a private individual's lot and do anything. Now, it was before the lot was sold, it belonged to Ashley Petit, and he owned it from as long as I've been living there. So the easement is an easement, and it's there.
There always was a sign easement there.
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
But
that's my own point.
I guess I was just commenting
It's
on
not gonna
the
be easy
the
for us to
naming
find
thing and
standardize everything.
It takes 70% to change
Mhm.
of the,
the
the CCRs.
so is it gonna be 70% of each individual area?
70%
70%
How many sets of-
overall?
How many sets of ARB guidelines do we have? Just 2?
Oh, no.
We got Middleborough, we got Sticks, we got Dunwoody, we got Ainsdale, we got Turnberry. I mean, we got a lot.
But your section doesn't have a sign. Correct.
No, or
Yeah.
any special
Denotes-
conditions.
Wait, there is an
You do.
entrance on Still Shadow.
You do.
Oh,
But it
There
doesn't
is,
say
there
a
is
state
a sign
section.
up there,
Yeah.
yeah.
It does it by lot number
It is
for
a
them.
cost number.
I know, but that's in the covenants, that's not a sign.
That's not an
Oh.
HOA sign.
Right.
I'm sorry, I thought we were still talking about.
That would be a
Yeah.
nice project years down the road.
Well, did we ever find out?
But if we're changing the entrance,
Did you
then
ever-
couldn't the engineering firm or the
They could, but we'd have to get a bill, that's gonna take a while.
And
So what would be the
I'll let
problem?
everybody know.
The problem,
If it is approved and you're going to refurbish 3, right now, someone mentioned 5, or to make it
There are 5.
eventually.
What if you did, if you got the approval, if you did the, whatever they choose to the Shadowmoss, but underneath it, like you do, you see this a lot in Greenville, I've noticed, of going to France. It was, let's say, the Essex Parkside, the Essex whatever, on the sign when you go into
I've seen
the
that in a lot of
area.
communities too.
So,
Yeah.
then it would still say Shadowmoss, whatever, what does it say, Shadowmoss Plantation? Then under Middleborough.
Well, some say Shadowmoss Plantation, other signs that say Shadowmoss Plantation Golf and Country Club.
Okay, I would, whatever the uniform is, and then just to note, whatever that's a possibility to
That's a
maybe
good
get
idea.
everybody happy.
Yeah, so,
I would just like it to look uniform.
One way to look at it
I don't have a
is,
problem with the little sign.
Or-
You
You don't have a separate sign?
Just kind of an FYI, that
Yeah.
would eliminate the Dunwoody having any distinction just because there's no entrance, because Turnberry would take the Dunwoody entrance. Because Turnberry, then it turns into Dunwoody midway down the street. I don't particularly care, I'm just putting that out because somebody will
Yeah.
care.
I don't care either, I personally
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Shadowmoss Plantation, period.
That's
We're
all I
not
think
big
so,
enough to
too.
have subsections.
Yeah.
We're not Grand Oaks where they
But
develop
we
the
do.
whole
I
thing.
know what you mean.
But
Yeah, but
we
we
do.
do
But we
have
are,
subsections.
but we are.
We do.
Whether we want to or not,
We're fixing to take a column down and have
Maybe
one
the
column.
long-term
so
plan
this is the
could
point
be
where they're trying to
consolidate
decide
some
what
of
it
that stuff.
and it could be that the
That would be a
reason that we
whole
have
other
these
issue.
different
That would
ones
be
is
a
from a
long-term,
development
yeah, you can't do
perspective,
that.
where different developers went in
Yeah.
and created their own identity so that they could sell more homes and lots. And so this would be kind of to clean that up, because it is kind of confusing that you go up and you see a sign that says Turnberry. Oh, I was looking for Shadowmoss. Oh, it's Shadowmoss.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so I need a second on, I guess it's really Mike's motion, or do you want me to do a substitute motion? Mike,
You want me to read it?
Do a substitute motion,
I'll do a substitute motion
that's Robert's rules.
to allow me,
I second the substitute.
okay.
What is the substitute?
I'm gonna go talk to Brownswood for, at a cost of $300 to design us 3 entrances,
Okay.
prototypical entrances.
And that's all they're gonna do is design.
Design and provide us a quote on how much it's gonna cost.
Okay.
And then we're gonna take the design, shop around, and,
A design based on what price point?
I'm sorry,
A design based on what price point?
it's just a design for, update the signage to match the Middleborough entrance.
Then we can get bids
Yeah.
on doing that.
Yes.
I noticed on the way here, turned into Shadowmoss Parkway here, the sign's got 1 line on it, maybe it's supposed to have 2, but there's this big bush out front that you can't see.
Exactly.
You can't see the one in Ainsdale either, when the bushes get too.
Yeah. I don't know if you noticed, they updated the lighting at Ainsdale.
It was nice and bright, it was nice and bright.
That looks really nice.
So I second
Last.
the new motion.
Okay. Yeah, so it's gonna cost, I think they said $99 an entrance, so
Okay.
I need 200.
Not to exceed
Not to exceed.
$300.
Okay. Discussion? Call for a vote?
Aye.
All right, unanimous. All right, moving on to new business. Number 8.
I have traditionally, and this was actually discussed back in September's meeting, I would just like to put it in a formal resolution form, that the treasurer has the ability to negotiate any soft cost on payment contracts. All hard costs will still come to the board.
All right.
Define that. Yeah, what is,
Can I get a second?
give us an example.
A soft cost is something that is not actually, you want to second it, then I can.
I'll second it.
Okay, into discussion mode. A soft cost is something that the association does not pay, it's just extra money that is unbudgeted. That would be like our interest.
Okay, any other examples besides interest?
There would be covenant violations would be a soft cost.
Okay.
That does not include, but it does not include things like attorney's fees, CMG fees, and assessments.
So those
Is
are-
there a limit to
Those
the
are hard
soft cost? Is there a limit?
It can grow forever. I mean, it could go forever. At one point, they were charging somebody $100 a day in fines, and it got ridiculous. I mean, I can't put an amount on it. Most of the time, the interest is usually, a few $100s. We charge 14% interest, which is earthly at this day and age, but it was in our covenant, so we have to.
Do we need to define soft cost just to be?
The soft cost is a defined term. I mean, you can define it to be the defined accounting term.
Okay.
I would feel comfortable with that as long as you're treasurer, but there's gonna be future treasurers.
Why would a future treasurer be a problem if it's a soft cost?
Then why don't we say
Because we haven't defined the
industry-
soft cost.
Yeah.
accounting standards?
The soft
Definition.
costs are costs that the association does not put out the money for in the beginning, like admin fees, monthly, there's a cost for that, legal fees, the association puts out.
Whether we
Pay
receive
for it
money or
before
not, we pay
The
for
homeowner
it.
does. Interest is on the account and no one's paying it. It's just, it's on the account, it's accrued each month as long as there's a delinquent fee, or delinquent amount. And so those are the soft costs where the association isn't paying anything out front.
Well, then the only hard cost really is the assessment.
No, because the
First
E&G
would be
fees,
the
the legal fees, that's
Okay.
where
Because
they
something's actually being done to create those
Yes.
costs as opposed to interest, which is.
We pay those whether the homeowner pays or not, the association pays the hard cost.
Yeah.
The soft cost is just, I hate to call it magic money, but it is like magic money. We don't put it in our budget because we don't know what it's ever going to be. If it doesn't get paid, it doesn't mean we have to write a check for it.
But I mean, are you talking about like if I'm delinquent and, or I'm doing something wrong and it's $100 per day fine, you can say, oh, well, I don't think he needs to pay $100? Is that what you're saying?
It's for negotiated payment plans. It allows me, and it's something that's been done for years as a standard that we would negotiate down, particularly the interest. Covenants are not usually involved in it, but it could be.
You're
So
comfortable
for
with that?
example, if you collected $500 worth of fines, which is something we do, which is something we don't budget for, we don't plan for, and she came to you and said, you need to pay this off, and you say, I can pay 200, she could accept that.
Okay, like an offering compromise.
Right, because it's not anything that's gonna impact our budget or anything else that we actually do.
Can
There's
we,
a lot of autonomy in just one person.
yeah, can we put a number on it?
Sure.
Not to exceed.
But understand that with all payment contracts, that means, if you make the number too low, everybody's going to be, it's going to be a motion for every contract, which I don't care, it's up to you
Yes,
guys.
that'd be fine.
So you don't want to do it.
What do you
No,
recommend?
I don't
as a
mind.
number?
Okay, because
I don't mind.
You're the
doing that.
expert. Give us a number you think it's good, not to exceed, a not to exceed number.
$300.
That's lower than I thought.
That's fair, that's fair.
Okay.
I like that.
So you should, I mean,
So
we're
it's-
right
It's
around.
amended, not to
No.
exceed. Yeah, we have to amend your.
I'll amend my motion to allow the treasurer the authority to negotiate soft cost and all payment contracts up to $300.
Second.
Second, third,
So we have to vote on the amendment now.
Eight.
All right, so let's vote, call for a vote on the amendment.
Aye.
Alright,
I
here.
And now we vote on the amended motion.
vote on the amended motion.
Correct.
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. All the way around, okay. Number B, meeting with the ACC. I met last week with the members of the architectural committee. Was it last week? Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So we talked about a few different things. We talked about a solar panel policy. We're gonna put one together. I printed some of mine, some sample ones. We're gonna put one together. I'm gonna put it together and then send it out to the board and to the ACC to get any input that's needed. New application for homeowner modifications. I don't know, Lisa, if you want to talk about this. We've had some issues when the new application comes in. Sometimes it's not complete, and members of the ACC had trouble reviewing. Am I right?
You're right.
Trouble reviewing incomplete applications, and then you get a 30-day window, kind of to review it.
Is it a 30-day from a complete
You
application?
know, it's 30 days for a complete application, so if they send it in and it's not a full application, it's not a full, the plat's missing.
That was a
or
question
it's
that's part of the
Maybe
reason why we're
going
here
back.
tonight, because we got one February 6th, and we rejected it. What we'd like to do, Logan, and we talked to our attorney, he's gonna help us, is we'd like to revise the original application for an ARB request or ACC
The
request,
form or?
the form.
And we would like for you to notate what subsection it's gonna
It's
be in,
in,
so we
because-
know what covenants. are
Because we have
gonna
different
follow.
covenants, so
Just
some,
put a place where they can check which
well,
subsection.
it'll be, yeah, this, I
They
guess.
can write it down.
Exact section, I think is what we call it, or they call it in here, different, you know, whether it's Turnberry or Middleborough and whatever. Just an example, we got a request the other day, it came through, everybody has full-time jobs, everybody's a volunteer, and it's a request for a fence, a pool, and taking down trees and limbing trees. Okay? The three of us are going back and forth between work. It didn't have a plat. We couldn't find the original, his plat. And I'm not faulting you, you're just the messenger sending it to us. It had H written for house and a block that said P written for pool. So I went back to Liz and I'm like, okay, so you talking about above ground pool and under ground pool? What kind of fence, what kind of trees is he taking out? He's on easement. Our third member of the ARB just about had a connection that fell right in it. So he thought he did, so what didn't he? And Charles and I are just kind of like, well, let's see, poor Liz. So what we want to do is to request more information from the get-go.
Sure.
If we know the section, then we know
Sure.
what size, what type of fence.
So does that mean we want to give the property manager permission to deny based on incomplete application?
And we
without
do,
sending it
Which is
to
what we
us?
wanted to do.
Which we do, and with that one, he gave me all the information he had, and then when I first sent it to you, I said, this is all he
Okay.
has. He's looking for a better plat, he's doing it, and he could not, and any information I've sent you is all he has. Not with the fence and not with those little details, but with pertaining to that. Typically, we don't send it to you until we have absolutely
Complete application,
everything.
perfect.
But
And it's been that way.
because he was asking for a pool, fence, and trees,
Right.
that's why I made the decision to go ahead and send it to you, because there's gonna be so many different things you were gonna have to approve. And I wanted
And the
y'all
follow,
to go ahead and have
Have
a
time
time to
to-
process it, because you do only have, once it's completed, the 30 days.
Right, but
So
we
we'll go for it.
couldn't even begin to make any sort of
And that's,
decision.
we went back to them, and it was the stuff that you asked for.
and so then on the 14th, you said additional pictures, is it 30 days from there, or?
It's once you get every single bit of information you need, that's when the 30 days
Okay.
starts.
And
And
so,
we tell the homeowner that, the homeowner is aware of that, and we send a letter to him,
So because it's denied based on incomplete application,
Yes, we
once he
send
gets more.
an email or a
Okay.
letter to him and say, hey, we need this, and
Mhm.
it is set out in that.
So we
is a-
reset the clock.
Yes.
That was.
It's reset until you get
We
what
have
you
till 14.
fully need.
We have till 14.
Mhm.
Can I ask
But if y'all have everything
Do you have everything now? I know I've sent you
No,
several
no,
emails
it's
Not
still
here. We don't
denied.
know where the
on
property,
incomplete
because of
application.
the plat.
because of the plat.
There's drainage easements back there where they've been working, putting all that flood stuff in, and he can't
Gotcha.
go, I mean.
So what-
Does
yeah.
it not even have measurements of?
No, he doesn't. The only plat he could find was zooming into the neighborhood plat
No pictures.
on the
of
county
pools.
website.
There's pictures of pools, yeah, no.
So what other
Trees to be
information,
removed.
what other information do you want us to get?
a
That will make your
design,
job easier.
drawings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Besides that, just the drawings,
Something that's gonna show
Pictures.
site layout.
I
And
guess
then
plans.
yeah.
we can verify, yeah.
Listen,
If I could make a suggestion, I was on the AACC for a couple of years, so I know exactly what you're going through. It is way easier if you ask the homeowner to submit separate applications for each part of the project, because it's really overwhelming to look at, like, you're talking about 3 basic projects there, and it's a lot easier to basically, the issues for each one, because you've got to.
Because
go
they're
through all
different
the
contractors, he's got a
Yeah.
pool contractor and a fence contractor.
And the concern we had, because it
Landscape
was
contractor,
such
so
a
we might be able
in-depth
to work
process.
with that with a
we
form.
didn't want the 30 days to pass.
It's not going to need if you were
Do
just.
y'all want to
information,
do
so
And it was not-
you can break it into three sections.
And approve it.
That's why we do it.
Sounds like a plan.
Liz,
They will help them know what to do, applications, they will help you.
I guess my question to the board is, if we were to change this, I don't know where the original ACC form came from. If we were
I've been in
to
your store twice
designate
and I've never seen
a
you.
form per request per,
Which store?
that's what I was thinking.
then does that have something that has to be approved? I don't know.
We don't have to make one from scratch. We can
No.
take our work on it and add or take
The
out.
one that we have now is one that came from Cruise Management Company. That's where that was came from, it's just the one that they're using before we started managing, and it was never asked to be changed, so that's how that one was adopted.
You have other templates.
We do, we can always make
It's a new idea,
Yeah.
one or two, three different ones.
I would, as a homeowner who has submitted requests in the past to like put plantings in the ground, I wouldn't let any homeowner push you around in terms of, I would not, it's annoying to have to submit a detailed request to you guys. So don't underestimate the extent to which people will give you a Mickey Mouse drawing and hope that you'll just say yes.
Volunteer, I'm here to make friends.
Yeah.
So I honestly, I'm just saying that I would just say,
I
it's not
understand.
to me. If somebody wants to put a pool underground, everybody is entitled, and because you're working on behalf of the whole neighborhood, everyone is entitled to know whether that pool is going to encroach on an easement, how far that pool is from the rest of the house, whether it's Olympic sized or whatever. And every homeowner in here knows that if they're submitting that request to you.
And
to
some
give
don't
you
want to
those
write by the
measurements.
rules.
Oh, I understand that. I'm just saying.
I mean,
that's the
we're all
feeling.
volunteers, we're just
Yeah.
trying to enforce the rules
With
that are
it,
set.
if the homeowner cannot provide you the correct information,
Yes, I
you
do.
either, you can just flat out deny it and say, once you have all your stuff, please resubmit.
Isn't that what we did, basically?
Not really,
Not yet.
but if officially you can do that and say, until you give us all the proper information.
We'll have to vote to make sure though, it's not KP1.
No, I'm just saying, but just say,
This
This is denied until we get the plat, fence drawing, pool, blah, 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 blah.
Lisa, a survey costs $200. He can go and get a survey and admit it that has dimensions on it, and I'm sure he has it
Oh, it's recorded.
for his pool contract.
No, it's on the camera.
No,
We volunteer
no,
information to these people, if I can afford it.
Not all plat's
It's
on the
there.
county
I
website.
don't know if I can give it to you.
No, Liz, all the plats, they're down at the RNC office.
Yes, they're at our.
It's $4 to get the big papers. He
But
has,
it's the homeowner's responsibility.
It is.
And I don't want you to feel like you're volunteering. Like,
You're right. But I will tell the board, our attending has been wonderful. 3 of us jumped into this not knowing there's been a lot of change and all of this management stuff. And teaching us about it, and it was really on the
he is
All right, number 3, we're gonna send a letter out to common,
When it came in.
covenant about. We're gonna send a letter out to common covenant violations to the membership, because I think there have been some problems with that. And a reminder of things that you need to submit ARB request, because there's been some stuff going on that without ACC approval.
Is this going to be similar to that list they sent out on the old board that, starting to
No.
cracks in the driveway, hair and comb?
No.
But if we're not issuing fines, then we'll just start sending letters.
Yes.
Okay.
People just need to realize that, just a reminder that the HOA exists. I think a lot of them forget and build stuff.
But if we're gonna have covenants that are written in that say you can't park on the street, but then we're gonna openly air and say we can't enforce it, can we just
We're
clear
not
up
telling
some,
them.
can we just clear up some of that stuff?
Because it can
I
remind
mean, what if the law is not gonna enforce
They might not
that?
know.
We're just gonna tell tell them not to do it.
Okay.
If they don't,
But there are things that we can't
Again, I'm
find.
here to
There are
be friends,
things,
and
yeah,
let them
we
know.
can enforce some of them and
That's
we
your
can fine
duty.
you for some of them if we have to. And, you know, I'm speaking, I'll come out and confess, I have my camera. And I've gone to, if I get a complaint, I would go to that homeowner's house and take a picture.
But that's every resident or HOA residence
Plug in standby, because you're gonna get some.
optional authority. That, I mean,
Yeah, already.
If I ask my
we've had
phone,
stuff come to us wanting the ACC to issue fines and I.
have them send a picture to my phone number. And that way it's anonymous, it'll look like it's coming from the board. 'Cause I know a lot of people, they're too chicken of their neighbors to raise their voice and say, hey, I don't like what you're doing. So you can have them send it to me and I will send it to CMG and they will get a letter from it.
So say, if it comes to our way, the few that I've gotten, I've sent to the board, say, hey, do you want me to do this?
I mean, you're gonna say yes.
The people have to speak up because we, you know, I'm not driving around looking for stuff, I have a life. So people just say, if there's a problem and they see it and it bothers them, they need to, you know, step up.
let's figure out what we can do to screw that up.
Yeah.
All right, number C, last week I met, they have the neighborhood, kind of, all the presidents in West Ashley neighborhood meet with the mayor, so that's what we did last week for breakfast. A lot of things we discussed. The major thing is flooding and development, and we didn't really come up with a solution, but the mayor said, one of the things we talked about is the new Savannah development. And he seemed optimistic about it. Everybody had their kind of skeptical hats. He said the way it's being designed is that it's draining away from Church Creek. So hopefully, he said it might actually help the neighborhood flooding, which
Is it draining to drain the swamp then?
It's gonna drain the stuff. It's gonna get stone up. They're supposed to have more green space, is that correct?
yeah.
That's what I heard too.
He said only a minor part actually affects Church Creek, and then a major, he said some of the part of it is actually would be draining Church Creek, but they're taking it away and draining it that way.
Well, Village Green is gonna be enlarging as well at the same time.
Another thing,
Add something to that?
yes.
I've taken a look at that notice, the core issue on the Long Savannah project, and it's clear that the city, not the city, the developer sat down with the city post Weston and Sampson's assessment of the basin to craft what I think it thought would be a response to the concerns about flooding in the watershed. But I think that the verdict is still out. as
Well,
to
which
whether or
city,
not-
which city did they sit down
Well,
with?
that's-
Charleston or North Charleston?
Which is actually a serious issue, because one of the things that, I mean, the newspaper's been following a little bit, but North Charleston's efforts to annex, it seems like everything east of 61 to the river, could actually have a profound impact on us, because as far as I understand right now, the city of Charleston has some kind of agreement with the county with respect to development ending at Village Green. Village Green plus these two phases that we're all now learning about that have been in the works for some time before. And it's questionable whether or not North Charleston would maintain that same, like, I don't know how that was negotiated. It's
They don't
not
have
clear.
to.
Yeah.
Well, right,
They don't have
and
to.
again, I don't know how it was.
And I have spoken with some city officials, and there is some question about low-lying marshland being under state control,
Mhm.
which would prevent North Charleston from being able to jump that river.
Well, that's you.
Well, you know, all I can do is say, this is what the law says. The city, I mean, we can jump in and say, but the city's got to react. And I'm not getting city reaction.
City of Charleston?
Yeah, so I don't know.
Well,
I did talk to Harry, and I've talked to Seekings as well. And, I don't know else.
Well, what you said about the study is true. Long Savannah was approved before the study.
correct.
And so it's based on their data. So for somebody to stick their neck out and say, they think it's gonna help our flooding problem, then see me afterwards, I got some land, I'd like to say.
Well,
That's
that's
where
my-
he's done the drawings, is what I understand.
Well, and I'm not, what
Not
I'm
as
not
many
sure about
houses
that
either.
is how much of the engineering they've done, like how much of how many resources has the Corps been devoted to reassessing what's happening?
I have an
That's-
attorney general's opinion. I can't get Harry or Mike to pick it up. And I've offered to drive it out to them and give it to them about the low-lying land that may belong to the state.
Wow.
So I don't know what else to do. I will
Put it on
continue,
Facebook.
I will continue to try. I don't think I want to do that yet, because there's 4 points, and 3 of them are not for us, but I believe the key is this.
And what's your position? How do you have the, what do you do in your real life?
I'm your state house representative in Columbia.
Okay, all
for
right.
this area.
And you're not getting response?
Yeah, I got plenty of response from the state on it, I just seem to be having trouble
My
getting
concern
it.
is, having followed this now since the big flood in 2015, is that there are a lot of people who need to be at the table that are not.
Well, that's
And-
part of the problem, it's territorial.
Yeah,
It is, and they may not appreciate the fact that I stuck my nose in this, although I warned them I was going to. But I think I got an answer that would be helpful to them. But I'll be honest with you, I don't think they want a helpful answer. Because when this whole Long Savannah thing came up, the only one who voted against it's no longer on city
Yeah.
council.
yeah.
So I really don't
Yeah.
think they want an answer. So it's just gonna be, I live there, I care about it as much as anyone else does. I don't
Well,
like
the
the
city
flooding.
also may be worrying about lawsuits because,
The city is worried about this.
Well,
yeah,
yeah, they are, but if they didn't do their due diligence,
Then they need to be.
and they're giving, I mean, this would mostly impact North Charleston coming over,
Mm.
jumping the river and coming over, which I can do. But they can't build on what would be considered state, they can't develop state property. So they, and I think that the city can use that to protect them, I mean, they can.
Here's the thing the mayor said. The mayor said they hired Weston and Sampson past, after the study, they hired some engineer. The first thing that they want to do is build a retention pond on the property that North Charleston is trying to.
Why doesn't he just take it? Just like North Charleston was going to, but he can.
They,
Well, they've moved to do that,
Yeah.
is my understanding. The city
So
has
probably
actually
the first three.
exercised,
Okay.
yeah, the city has actually exercised everything it
annexation.
can do up to going into court, and they are, I don't know if it's been scheduled, but they will be going into court with North Charleston to resolve who gets to do
And
what.
that may be why they're not interested in the AG's opinion, because they may think they have it covered.
Well,
so that was their first move, is to kind of solve the drainage, to build a retention pond. I mean, there's a list of things that Weston and Sampson recommends in there.
Oh, I know,
In
it's
their
it's
study.
a great
Well,
report.
part
that they
of the
filed.
reason why he would try to move that to the top of the list, one is, it's one of the less expensive
Yeah.
things that they can do right now. It also sits right at the area that they've determined is a block for a lot of the water that's draining to the river. And so they actually, that part of the basin does need a lot of attention, but it's interesting that that's, I mean, I think that's at the top of the list because it doesn't require him to figure out creative ways of raising
And
lots of money.
the new city council people are with the mayor on everything, so it's kind of,
Well, North Charleston.
except for Harry, I don't think Harry is, but the other ones were
North-
promoted by the mayor, so.
Yeah, North Charleston annexed like 2,000 acres across the river, and then the city of Charleston annexed those 2,000 plus another 3,000 surrounding.
That was a defensive action.
Exactly. I think that was a great offensive action. In fact, I think the city of Charleston should annex all of the city of North Charleston.
Well, that would, I could understand why they did that, they annexed around it, which kind of boxes them in to do nothing.
Well, they shouldn't be allowed to cross the
They can't
historic
cross the river.
preservation easement by the,
Well,
whatever.
the city didn't have a choice once North Charleston did it.
I know.
The city actually, as a representative of all of us, had an obligation to actually do what it's doing right now, so.
And you would talk to them, I thought things were all straight.
No, like some straight amount. All right, I talked about the Bridgepoint property. The city is buying the property, this federal grants, they're gonna tear down the condos and they're gonna leave it a green space. I tried to talk to the mayor, who's building a playground or a park there. he said he wants to build another detention pond. So,
They may
that's,
have to.
there's already a detention pond there, so
Can you do that? Because the
It's not
grant
sufficient.
specifically says green
green
space
space,
in the grant. So he may not be able to do that.
Well, it depends on what's defined as green space.
Yeah, you
Detention
put some
pond
green
is not
dye in the
green
water.
It
space.
depends on what it would have been naturally
Detention
if nothing
pond.
had not been there before. The thing about the pond that's there is that my understanding is it's never been dredged.
That's true.
So there's now not a whole, it's like filled with sediment, which is part of the problem with respect to
But it's
drainage.
fine now
Well, it
if
needs to
it
be
floods
dredged.
because there are not going to be houses there.
Well, right, but still, it's a capacity issue. So you can't look at it just as the condos. You have to look at it as where the water backs up as a consequence of the condos being there and what would have been natural prior to the condos being there. So he actually may be able to, or may have to, even, I don't know, depending on kind of the assessment.
I haven't looked yet.
Yeah,
I don't know
I'm
if
not
it's
sure.
Pull the
better or not.
grant up and look at the grant. The grant is pretty specific
I would like. to
about
leave it
what
at
the
city
federal
park.
government is willing to pay for to do over there.
I would keep this lady in the loop on that because you were.
My background was environmental. I used to prosecute wetlands cases and things like that. That's where
She
my
was an attorney for the Army Corps of Engineers.
But the question also exists with the other properties that they included in that grant that are on Wolf Drive as well, and some other, I think, areas as well. In terms of what that's gonna look like after those, assuming it all works out the way it's supposed to, because that's not, an absolute. What that looks like at the end of the day may very much depend on sort of the rest of the basin.
Well, that pond that they're talking about building will be city property where we as an HOA don't have to maintain it, right?
I don't know.
They're a separate
I
HOA
think so.
anyway, aren't they?
The mayor said
Uh,
he's gonna maintain all the city-owned.
Right, it'll be city owned, and that's part of the way to preserve it.
Well, then we should try to influence them to stock the pond and make it a fishing place.
That's what I was.
Because there's kids on the neighborhood who are going after the golf cart, after the golf course closes, and they're sneaking on and they're catching all kinds of fish, which is cool, but I think the golf course just turns a blind eye, but their official policy is you're trespassing.
I
They're
think
out
that's it.
fishing by the ponds near my house all the time.
Oh, they're catching them everywhere. So the city should build a pond there,
Let 'em fish.
stock it with fish, and make it a fishing.
I think it's a good question to ask what that, like, requirement or what they're allowed to do at the end. But I'm fairly certain it's the allowing it to go back to or doing whatever's necessary to have it become what it would have been without something having been built there. And my guess about the city, I mean, if you're getting eyes glazed over on something that's more present, like North Charleston trying to take over the plantation district, you're not going to get a whole lot of responses on this because it's actually, there's some time before any of that even occurs.
I have a question. Talking about ponds, you all hired a new pond cleaning company, and he started?
Not yet, because of the season, it's not ready. They're,
No, it comes out once a month.
yeah, but it didn't really
Well, it
start.
looked to
my
me like
understanding,
the
so-
pond on
Oh,
Shadowmoss
it is
Parkway
better,
to the right, I don't know, on down where Jackie and then maybe before you, it looks like it's been cleaned out.
I thought Carl
Well,
was
that's the
there.
plan.
I mean, it looks,
We'll take credit for it.
without giving us.
Are you referring to the wax myrtle along the edge?
Is that an
Carl
HOA?
was cleaning that. Yeah, that's not the city.
Wait,
I don't know, but
There's half
Yeah,
the
but
ponds.
it's close to your house, I don't know.
Oh, no, that was the owner. of it.
Well, the whole thing looks awesome, and I
Yeah.
really hired.
The homeowner doing
That is
that.
actually owned, those two properties, your property line, is right in the middle of it.
It looks good. I did not.
All right, and then last thing is this speeding and police presence in Shadowmoss. I brought that up with the mayor, but he wasn't very interested in hearing or solving the problem of speeding in Shadowmoss.
Well, the guy that, at least one person was complaining about the speeding, I looked up his rap sheet, you'd be surprised how much information you can get about people. And, I don't think this guy is deterred by anything law enforcement can do to him, to tell you the truth.
That's the one that wrecked?
No, this is another one. I don't know who wrecked. I don't know if he's ever been identified. But I'm talking about one somebody else brought up about, was on Shadowmoss Parkway, and they had some exchange of, Facebook things back and forth, and I looked up his rap sheet. I don't know who it is. I'm gonna look up his rap sheet if I find out who it is, just to see, because to me, the legal system's all about lawyers and money, and, that's what it's about, folks. I mean, you're in and
Rap
out.
sheet of the speeder?
Yeah.
My
I mean,
understanding
yeah.
is his grandmother's covering for
He's
him,
been,
though.
he's been in jail a few times, and I'm surprised he still has insurance.
Yeah.
Well, it's not our job to enforce that, I'm gonna be honest. It's police need to do that.
Somebody near me complained about speeding a few years back, and Team 4 brought out a,
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've had it a few times.
but it doesn't work.
No.
It doesn't.
Because people slow down while it's there.
Yeah.
And then Team 4 monitors the numbers, and they try to notice it, and then they take it away, and everybody resumes.
Yeah, I think we're gonna wanna try to break each other's
Oh, no,
record.
they like to fly over the speed humps. I mean, they they're airborne.
Talking about speed hump, they've been, coming through and doing a little patching, getting ready. Hopefully, did the mayor say anything about the paving that's supposed to be
They're
going
gonna
on?
repave Shadowmoss in the next 2 months.
Okay. The reason I ask is, one of the neighbors asked, says, well, they were going, where they put the new paving right there at the speed hump as you come through the steel shadow, you can't tell that the speed hump's there. They've got the little signs, but they don't have a little white thing.
And you hit
That wakes you up, that's for sure.
So it's a good place for the sign, but boy, you cannot see that thing at all. And there's people bombing their cars out, tearing the cars out. I don't know who to say, who to tell. Oh, boy, if I can get me some white paint, go out there and put through there.
There you go. Another thing you know, say.
Above the speed limit.
Just go to the spill can on there, going over the kids.
I mean, I don't know if there's anything that the board can do with regards to speeding, or I don't know,
Ask for police
Up for a way.
presence occasionally.
just keep emailing the Team 4. Okay. Any more suggestions?
Are we gonna have a wildlife biologist talk about that?
That's right.
Yes, that is actually, I spoke to the biologist at Cape Remain, and he's actually was part of the Red Wolf project. His area of expertise is Canada stuff.
Perfect.
Both fox, coyote, and he's going to, I've actually arranged to get the church, I just need to make sure it works with his schedule, but we're looking at doing it after our next monthly meeting, right in the sanctuary, so.
My only concern about it, there's been a few people here and there, maybe y'all saw, maybe you didn't on Facebook, that have mentioned, and I saw your response, Lynn, as to, shooting, and my concern there is that if people use a rifle and they miss, those bullets go a long way.
They do.
I mean,
And
I
DNR
hope
will
somebody
shoot
will
them.
clarify the law.
Coyote.
DNR will shoot them. I already talked to them.
It's been kind of all over the board.
And they say they're hard to track.
You can't do this, you can't do
Well, here's, okay, I just got real brief going to this, because I'm like the wildlife biologist handle this, but, I point blank this neighborhood has lost its bloody head over, a couple of coyotes. I'm not gonna fault anybody, if the coyote's attacking you and you shoot it, fine. If it's not attacking you, leave it alone.
I haven't heard of anybody being attacked by a coyote or fox.
I hazed it the other day, it was at the cat house on Shadowmoss Parkway, I would have yelled at it, it looked at me and walked away, because unfortunately this crazy woman's been feeding it, it's my understanding, so it's probably right here.
I ride my bike and a coyote crossed right in front of my bike and had a squirrel in its mouth, so I'm
Yeah, you do the
figuring
coyotes.
it's doing some kind of rodent control and
If it'll get the
everything in food
squirrels
chain
and
has a
those
purpose.
Canadian geese, I hate the Canadian geese as badly as the squirrels, it's like, eat all of them, I'm good
Have
with
more
it.
geese.
But this wildlife biologist has said, if you trap one of the alphas, every one of them's gonna breed after that, so then you're gonna have a real population explosion. And if you, take it out, and it has young, it won't teach its young to avoid it. They're actually something, they teach them to stay away from us. Of course, if somebody's feeding it, it's probably teaching them, hey, come up to the porch. They'll give you something. But
But
Yeah.
isn't it illegal to feed?
Yes.
Yeah.
So why doesn't this lady?
I don't know. I'm actually gonna ask for her address. Maybe she doesn't know, but I'm gonna write to her and ask her to come attend.
I don't know her number, but I know her location because I saw the red fox eating out of like a dog.
Bless her.
I don't know the number.
I mean, we're joking. Understand, there's been very few coyote attacks, but when they do attack, it tends to be children. So we really need to put a stop to people bringing them up to the house.
James, we got this young lady, but with her, she brings a whole bag of goose food and duck food out
That's
there.
the same one that's.
It's the same lady?
Just sort of a broad suggestion. I live in a house that sits right on the edge of one part of the wetlands and whatever. And love where I am because of just how cool it is to see all these different participants in the ecosystem. I mean, the kinds of birds of prey we have and the waterfowl and everything else is just amazing. And I can't fence in the back, so I have all kinds of interesting visitors coming through, armadillo included every now and then. But it occurs to me that Shadowmoss just sort of, generally, we sit in this marsh, and even though we have all these houses and all these paved roads, there are people who buy in here, who live in here, who have no clue how fragile an ecosystem it is and how easy it is for one human to like screw it all up. And so it might be, I don't know if this is something that can be done with when you guys do mailings or whatever else, but it might be worthwhile to maybe put something together that doesn't assume anybody understands that and kind of goes out as a reminder, particularly as the weather gets warmer and people are outside, of the kinds of things you really shouldn't do. That you assume people know.
Like feeding alligators.
I've seen people do stuff without it, like you've got to be
Well,
kidding me.
we're gonna start with this guy coming in and, talking to people, and I talked to him, because my big concern are for the people on the golf course, because we have the 4-foot fence rule, do we need to address something like that? Because I'm not gonna tell somebody, hey, your grandkid's out there, but, you have to maintain a 4-foot fence if you've got, predators around. But he's gonna address all that. He actually was telling me, you may not wanna change your fences, because then you trap your animal,
Right.
which is a worst case scenario, so,
That's what the DNR guy said.
yeah, exactly. So, this is an expert coming down. I don't know what good it'll do. I know it's not gonna do us any good if we have people feeding the wildlife. I'm sorry. I just can't believe there's anybody out there, like you said, it's like in what world?
You assume people don't, but people do, and it might be the case that you actually help, what I'm thinking of, you help empower the neighbor that knows better, who observes it, and otherwise wouldn't call somebody and say, so-and-so is feeding, the fox on whatever, and they do it every whatever. We have wildlife, we've got folks who can intervene and give a call and say,
Well,
you can't do
there's
it.
also the inadvertent feeding.
Sure.
Because I know people have been putting out food for cats, and it's like, well, guess who else eats your cat food?
And your cats.
Well, actually, no, they said coyotes take a lot of blame for that, but the vast 90% of cat predation is raptor birds.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
owls and
And we have a lot
hawks,
of
and,
those.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, all these missing cats, I told the biologist, well, the coyotes are eating the cats, he's like, no, and then my
We have a
vet,
really healthy bird.
well, my vet also said bobcats, and she goes, they're in, my vet has seen bobcats in Shadowmoss. So, guess what, we have Cody and bobcat, we don't feed the bobcats either. Don't feed them.
We put it in the jungle around here.
Well, they're losing their habitat, they got no other place to go.
Well, yeah.
Build it on.
And if you're feeding them, you're making them forget what they should do naturally, and that is go look for food.
If I'm
So like the
feeding-
kids, they're easy on them, they won't go out and get a job. That's the same principle.
Okay.
Homeowners forum, I don't know, I think we covered everything. I don't know if there's any other comments.
But
I have a request. This has to be the HO or the ARB.
And here's 2 ARB members right here.
Perfect. I'm Stephen Wright, by the way. I live at 507 Shadowmoss, the first house. You come in off East Ferry, first house on the right.
My wife's favorite house.
Greenhouse, first house on the right.
With the 2 little redhead boys in the
The
dark.
red boy that I can't keep out of the pond, or off the golf course. So, 507. So we've been super blessed for 11 years since we've lived here to never have neighbors that's built next to us. And so right now, Syntax is building homes. And it looks like they built a nice home there. However, they built outside of the MARB zone setbacks. They built almost in the very front of the 25-foot city setbacks. So you can imagine today I went out, I came back home today, and all of the trees, including the large oak tree that was there, was gone. It was all gone. And now, I don't know if it was, now I measured it, it's 21 inches. And so maybe that may have barely fell within the city's 22.
It's 24,
Yeah.
at 4.5 feet up.
At
So-
4.5 feet up. I don't know what it is, but I measured the bottom of it where they cut it. It was 21 or 2, so they may have.
And it
It
gets
wasn't-
smaller as it goes up.
It
Yeah,
wasn't
it's
a
small.
grand tree.
So I'm sure it wasn't, but nonetheless, it was a beautiful oak that's gone. That's one thing, that's really not my issue. It's where they're cutting in for the home to actually sit. If you're sitting on my front porch, we'll be looking at their back porch. And so I brought my plan to show you exactly how that we had to build. We actually had to get a variance when we built 11 years ago, when I built the house, for it to sit on, here's the main thing right here. This is a regular sit back. And this is actually slot number 1. I own that one, but I don't have a house on it. So I'll show you this one, which has our home on it. Okay, so when we built our, sorry, wrong way. So as it sits, this is lot number 1. I mean, lot number 2, where our house sits. Now, this is our,
This is lot number 1
this
here.
is lot number 1.
Across the street.
This is lot number 2. This is Shadowmoss Parkway running right here.
Okay.
Okay? So as you pull up, you see our driveway comes right here, and this is where our garage is. We had to get a variance because we were outside of this line right here.
Okay.
See there? That's the MARB setbacks for the homes, okay? This is the city 25-foot setbacks. So we had to build a box inside of this box, okay? So we had to basically be in, so you can see we're inside of this little box here. Where this home, if you go over and look at it, where this home, they have this home actually cut in, but they just cut in to build it today. It sits about right here.
My husband and I rode through there, you might have seen us, the golf section
No,
on Friday.
And it sits basically right here. It's literally on the line. They built the other house already. The other house next door on lot number 4 is actually built right there. It's built in, so for me, I'm not a stickler, and I'm not, I don't have a big problem with people doing things differently. And I'm sure they'll be able to find a house. But my biggest concern is just where they put it on here, that it doesn't fall within this, and we paid, we had to pay a pretty penny just to stay in the MARB guidelines. Just the landscaping alone is astronomical. Plus, we had to do 2-foot overhangs. There's so many things we had to do when we invested into our home. So just to build my house was it was right at $500,000 just to build the house. And so once Don Patrick left and everything sold out, as you can imagine, D.R. Horton came in, and of course it negatively affects our home value because they're building at a much lower cost without any of the main restrictions, just the building on slab and the things that they had to do. So we went through a tough time so I don't fault Dan Patrick for that. I say Don Patrick, Dan Patrick's the sports center guy. But nonetheless, if there's any way you guys would consider just taking books, I think they're doing things pretty quickly, and I don't know if it's because they have a hard time reaching who are getting permits or what's going on, but they're putting these things up super fast. It's like ask, forgiveness instead of permission. Because once the house is up, it's not coming down and they ain't moving it. So if there's any possibility, I spoke with the real estate lady who's doing selling. She came to meet me and she asked any concerns or whatever, and that was before they built. So I actually called her yesterday and she said, we're not going to be building for 2 months because we haven't even got the permits for it yet. So I came back today, it's clear, they got it cut in right where they're going to build, and man, I'd really love to see them build inside of that so it flows, because it's going to negatively affect how our house looks and where it sits and within the neighborhood as it comes by.
Have you called the city?
No, I came home today and it was done, so I decided to come. I stopped by Mike's because I didn't have a number, and he suggested I come over here tonight, just so that I don't want to be a bad neighbor, but because I need grace myself at times, and I just want to make sure.
You know what this MARB setback is?
Well, you can see it. You can see right here.
So it's got to be 60.
Oh, you can see it running across on this one already.
I know, this is 25 feet, 50 feet.
Well,
Yes.
the HOA they would need approval from the city to build.
Yeah,
But they would need
this
approval
is-
from the HOA.
What happens, who approves new houses?
All
for
new
HOA?
construction is reviewed by architect, or Red Iron. So this would have
We
been.
actually-
They work for us?
They work for us, yeah.
Yeah.
So they would have reviewed those.
I'm not sure that they actually know, I mean, these are so, it's hard to find these now.
Yeah.
So we
What's the
can,
guy who died, what's the guy who was the manager back years ago? I think he passed away, he was the property manager.
Yeah, his name was Don.
Don Haney.
Don Haney,
Yeah.
Don Haney passed away.
Spectrum Properties.
Spectrum Properties, that's right. They had all of these, and trying to find that now is pretty
you know,
tough.
we can look at it and we can see if their approval was granted, and if it hasn't been granted, we could put a stop to work order.
But even if it's not,
It would be my opinion.
When Red Iron approves it, who is it? Hey, when Red Iron approves it, where does the paperwork go? Where does it go?
The CEG approves it and sends it back to the
So,
homeowner.
Red Iron talks to the homeowner directly.
Okay.
He's not hit in the business. Unless the only thing is to make Red Iron comes back and says, we need this information, so do this.
Somebody check off. I mean, back in the old days, instead of sitting nice, somebody checked off.
I don't see she got to send in your presence.
Yeah, Red Iron, the homeowner reviewer is just
It's been approved like last, I mean, like, I don't know.
I don't know if it's been approved or.
So I'm going to look up some artists and she's gonna take care of it. I'm gonna get this person.
if the developer would sit on my porch and say, I live here.
Seems like,
It's not a combination.
The problem lies with, or a bunch of little,
Yeah, can we make
Are you still hard on that